Welcome back to 84 Square Feet. My name is Robert. Good to have you along on this journey again today. We are going to be answering some more questions from viewers, people just like you that have written into me, that have asked me different questions about things that are going on. About 9 months ago or so, I had a Facebook post where I put out just asking people if they had any questions about my experience in solitary confinement. I got a bunch of questions, and I'm going to be answering a few of those here today. I've gone through some of the letters that I still have from that time period. And even though I thought my memory was pretty good, you know how it gets with a little bit of age. So join in. If you have any questions or if you have maybe a comment about something that I'm talking about, feel free to drop it down in the comments. Even if it's a differing opinion, I'm totally good with that. There's a lot of different sides to this whole thing. And the only way that anything changes is having a conversation. I welcome your comments. I love having conversation about this, and I would love to see us just doing better at treating people a little better. I mean, yeah, there are some people that are in solitary confinement for doing some crazy things and they need to be separated. But I do feel like there's different ways that we can go about maybe rehabilitating them, maybe connecting them, even if it's just with people on some type of a level. So I'm open to all sorts of sides and angles and conversations on this, but let's get into the questions now. We're going to be jumping right in here. So here is the first one. All right, I love this first question here. Kim Z asked, what were you allowed to have to keep your sanity? Were books allowed? Well, Kim, what a great question. And I love how you assumed that I just kept some of my sanity. I mean, I think I do have a smidge of it left, but it was definitely a taxing time on me mentally. Yes, they did have books allowed in there. As you'll see, I did have a book request that I had filled out. And this was right around the first month or so that I was there in the hole. In order to have books or anything sent in at Ely State Prison, you had to fill out this inmate book request thing, put down the exact name, the titles, all that kind of stuff. I mean, and that's the only way that they would allow any of that stuff in. It always had to come from a publisher. Prisons have pretty strict rules on where stuff can come from because, believe it or not, there's a few bad actors that are out there that like to shove all sorts of stuff inside of mail, like, drugs, fentanyl, whatever they can get in, weapons. I mean, it's crazy the kind of stuff that they try to get into the prison. So that being said, yes, they did allow books. They allowed a bunch of other things, but you do have a process that you have to go through in order to get that stuff approved. I had USA Today while I was there. I loved reading that. I mean, I would read through every single page in that thing. Loved reading through the different workout magazines. I was working out a lot, but I wasn't running yet. So I'll let you know when I started running in my whole prison experience, but in solitary confinement, you really have no room to run. I mean, my cell was 84 square feet. I mean, I'm 6 feet wide and 14 feet long, and I've got a toilet, a bed, and a desk in there. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of running going on, but I did wear the soles right off of some of my shoes from walking so much. I mean, you have a lot of pacing time. Sitting down is bad for you. And I mean, what else can you do in the hole? You're just sitting down. You're either sitting down looking at something, sitting down reading, laying down sleeping. I mean, it just gets old after a while. It's a lot of sitting down. So, you do what you can. And so, yeah, the books and stuff like that were definitely a big help. The other things that were good were the correspondence courses. Like, I was a student with Crossroads Prison Ministries. Loved doing that because I knew I was going to get once a month, I was going to get a letter from one of my mentors. They were going to speak some love and encouragement into me. And I loved that. I had another Bible study that I was doing as well. I think I was writing to a few different people at that point. And I loved just hearing what's going on outside of here. What's happening outside of these walls? Because when you're in there, you start to lose your concept of what's going on, what's happening in the world. Do you feel like life is passing you by? I mean, look at how fast music changes and technology. I mean, I went to prison in 2010. We're talking Facebook was just starting to get kind of popular and stuff here. So technology and everything changes so fast. Music changes. Think about all the new music that has come out just in the last year. Now imagine being down for 5 years or not having access to a CD player or a TV or anything like that for a couple of years. And think about how much has changed. And so that's what people in solitary confinement are going through. And they know that in the back of their head. They know life is continuing to go. And I'm sitting right here. It's like you're suspended in animation or something. It's crazy. It's the craziest thing. The other thing that really helped me keep my sanity was definitely doing those crossword puzzles, the Sudokus, all of that stuff. There was like this whole activity sheet that was in the back of the USA Today. Loved doing that. My mom would always send me Sudoku puzzles. Loved doing those things that engaged my mind. I mean, I needed something to connect with. I needed something to keep me busy. When I first got down, one of the guys that was above me sent me down a little slip of paper. I mean, it's a whole process. You got to like have a string and got to have this thing to kind of flick it down. And it's a whole process. But he got me a message and he basically said, "Hey, I don't know if you've done any solitary confinement time or not." But he says, "In my opinion, the guy who gave me the best advice said to me, get a routine. Figure out what time you're waking up. Figure out what time you're going to eat breakfast, and then maybe work out for a little bit, and then maybe sit down and write a letter, and then clean your cell, and then make your bed. And then, so you see where I'm going with this? There was always that next thing that your mind was looking forward to. I'm looking forward to after I'm done with my morning stuff. I'm going to eat lunch. I'm going to take a little nap. I'm going to work out. I'm going to shower. I'm going to write a letter to my parents. I'm going to write a letter to this person. I'm going to write a letter to that person. So you see, you just have to find stuff to fill your day because otherwise those walls start to close in on you very, very quickly. Peter asked, how did you keep your mind busy during the 23 hours a day in your cell? Well, Peter, I am left-handed. I got so bored in there that I decided I was going to teach myself how to write with my right hand. I mean, who really does that with their time? But that's the extent really of the boredom that's inside of solitary confinement. So, you do a lot of things. The whole getting a schedule was huge for me because then I had something like I knew I'm going to do this at this time. I'm going to do this on this day. Even something as simple as having a copy of what the menu is going to be for the rest of the month. Nevada Department of Corrections, they go on like a monthly rotation. So you're basically getting the same thing to eat on week 1 of February as you are on week 1 of March, as you are on week 1 of April, and so on. So I'll put a copy of the actual menu. This is something I dug through some of my letters and I found this, but I'll put a copy of the menu up there so you can see this is what we're eating. I mean, you can see we got like cheese sandwiches. Yeah, that whole cheese sandwich deal, that was like bread with some slices of cheese. This isn't like a nice grilled cheese with a little hot bowl of tomato soup. Not that at all. This was definitely cold bread with the cheese put right in between it. And then, a mustard packet. So thanks for that, NDOC. Appreciate you. But, keeping yourself busy in there, having something to look forward to, even if it was something as silly as a menu item. Like, I'm going to have lasagna next Thursday. Next week, Friday, I'm getting pizza. That's how you have to almost trick your mind into the world is bigger than just where I'm at right now. And there's things that I'm looking forward to that are outside of this box. And that's how you begin to control the narrative that's inside of your head, especially when the walls start to close in, because they do. Being inside of that 84 square foot box for 23 hours plus a day does take a toll on you after a while. And it's things like this, things that would be routine, that you could look forward to, that you could open your mind up to, like, I'm ready for this next thing. That's what kind of keeps you going. And the last one that I got here for today is from Veronica. You had some really great questions. I appreciate you putting these in. These were, what were you allowed to do in the 1 hour that you were out of the hole? Were you with anyone else during that time? And did you look forward to that 1 hour out, or did it make it harder to go back in? Fantastic questions. Let's go with number one. The most important thing to remember in solitary confinement is the word solitary. So you never have any access to any other inmate that's in there. Anytime they get ready to move you out of your cell to, let's say, to the showers or to the rec yard, right? No one else is on the tier. They have 2 COs that will come. They'll have you put your hands through this little slot in the door. They'll handcuff you. Then you have to get on your knees. They will open the door. One CO will come and put his hand on your shoulder. Then the other CO goes down and he puts the leg irons on you. Then they both help you up. So now you're standing up, they turn you around, and then you walk out of your cell with a CO at each side of you, either holding your arm or have a hand on your shoulder or something like that. But that's how movement goes anywhere you go. There's never a time, at least there wasn't for me, there was never a time when I was in a sally port, a hallway, the unit itself coming to and from showers. I never had any type of physical interaction with any other inmate or able to see them or anything like that. I mean, you might see somebody that's walking to the showers while you're in your cell, but you're never in the same space together. What was I allowed to do in that 1 hour out of my cell? Well, every 3 days they would have you run through the shower for 15 minutes. So that would, I don't even think that counted as like part of your hour out. That was just part of a, hey, guess what? It's your day to go wash your bum. So, but no, every 3 days you get a shower. Shower is 15 minutes. There were some COs that, and not everyone, but there were some that really didn't like doing their job. And I feel bad for those people now because, like, man, if you don't like doing your job that much, I mean, but they would, because we were making them work, is how it was perceived by us. When they would come to get us for the shower, like they would bring us to the shower, you have to go through that whole cuffing up thing, hands, leg irons get brought over. And the shower is nothing more than a cage. It's a cage that's in the corner of this area. There's one on this side, one on this side, and it's got a big concrete wall in between or whatever. So you never have any interaction with anybody else there. And then, you know, they would sometimes go back to your cell and just trash it. I mean, you're out of the cell for guaranteed 15, 20 minutes. They've got nothing better to do. So they would go through and not just search. I mean, there's a difference between searching and what these guys were doing. Searching is, yeah, I'm going to look through some of your stuff and whatever. I would come back to my cell and the mattress would be flipped over. The sheets are ripped off. All my letters are all over the floor. I've got hygiene that's just all over the place. I got Q-tips all over a dirty floor. I mean, disrespectful is how that felt. Getting searched, completely agree. Like, we're in prison. Yeah, we deserve, I guess, to get searched because of, you know, stuff happens, right? But to that level, like, that's where I feel like we can do better. Was that necessary? Did that change anything for me? Did that make me realize anything? I don't think so. It just kind of made me like, wow, like, what was that about? I mean, we're in solitary confinement. I don't have anybody passing me anything. I don't have, you know, just the likelihood of something happening. Very, very small, but I mean, it does happen, so I guess that's why they searched. But did it have to be to that level? I don't think so. So that's kind of where I fall on that. The other thing that we were allowed to do, and really this is the only other thing that you're allowed to do, is they would call you for rec yard. So the rec yard there, they would lead you out, and it's this big concrete enclosure. Maybe, I don't even know how many square feet it is, but I mean, I could maybe 15 steps this way and maybe 20 or 30 steps this way. And the walls were like 30-foot high concrete brick. So I never saw any of the mountains. I never saw any grass or people or anything like that. It was always just hanging out inside of this big concrete enclosure. Inside of there was, I think, like a workout bar, something that you could do like pull-ups and stuff on and dips and whatever. There was a basketball hoop, but there was no basketball because somebody had popped the basketball or kicked it over or something like that. And, there's no money in the budget for that. So, that was their answer every time somebody asked for a basketball. We were allowed to have like handballs. There were these little blue balls that that we would just hit against the wall, and it would come back and you hit it. And it's a good form of exercise. I did a lot of handball while I was down there. So that was really the extent of that. And the other thing to remember is, this is how much they didn't like doing their jobs, the COs. So there's no telling when I may get my yard time. I may get my yard time at 6 in the morning. I may get my yard time at 6 at night. I may get my yard time at 2:30 in the morning. The call comes over the buzzer, want to go for a yard? And part of me thinks that they do that way because, you know what, we have to at least give them the option of getting out of their cell. But how many people really want to get out of their cell at 2:30 in the morning, when you were in a dead sleep? And they're just trying to check a box off. Again, that's how I felt. That was my perception. Again, if that's not correct, it may not be correct, but I know that's how I and many other people that were there interpreted that. Because there were some COs that would give you yard and your rec time at normal hours of the day, but then there were some that just wanted to check the box for the day and say, we offered it to him, he refused, so that's why he stayed in his cell. Well, if I went out at 2:30 in the morning, so I was like, if you're going to get me rec, I'm getting out. But then that stopped too, because then that CO was like, okay, you're going to take rec and make me get up off of my seat? Then I'm going to trash your cell. And I would come back and my cell would be completely trashed. And so, it makes you not even want to leave your cell at that point. If I'm going to have to come back and pick everything up every time I go out of here, I'm good. And so there was a point. I remember writing to my mom at one point. I'll read it to you in one of the next series here that I have with these letters. But there was a point where I didn't leave my cell for well over 90 days. Didn't go to showers, nothing. I just showered right in my cell. But that's how bad it got with a certain shift that was on. And that's, again, where I just say, I really feel like we can do better. People in general, just do better. Do you really have to heap on more punishment and make it worse? Solitary was bad enough as it is. But that is definitely one of my memories from solitary about just how the COs, some, again, not all, but some would come in and really just do what they could to make life uncomfortable while we were there. And that's all I got for the questions today. Thanks for dropping those in the comments. Again, this was on that original Facebook post from 9-10 months ago. But I've had some really good questions and some comments come in here over the last couple weeks. I appreciate the support. A free way to support this channel is hitting the like button, subscribing so that you don't miss a new episode, and sharing it with a friend who maybe needs a little bit of hope or encouragement in their life. We've all been there. This doesn't have to necessarily be about somebody that's been through this exact experience. But if you're going through a tough time or know somebody that is, and they just need to know you can make it to the other side, then that's what this is really all about. The next episode that I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be reading a few more letters. These are going to be from December of 2011. I wrote these letters back to my mom. She saved them for whatever reason, but here we are now, and they actually do paint a very good picture of what's going on in prison. There's a lot of emotions that go on around the holidays. Guys get a little testy. Even the guards get a little testy. Nobody really wants to be in prison. I've never met anybody that was super happy being there. But, the holidays are just tough on guys. So I'm going to be reading my letters from December 8th and also December 29th. So there's a lot of information in there. And I'm happy to open up that window so that you can see what goes on in solitary confinement. What kind of stuff is going through a person's head? How are they trying to stay sane, right? What are the things that you're doing to engage yourself? So, because it's easy to feel like you're forgotten there. You know that life is going by. You see life happening. You see people getting out. You see life just continuing to move. Maybe after you've been down for a year or 2 or 3, less and less people are writing you. I've seen that a lot too. And you really start to find out who your support system is. So thanks for joining me on this Answer Your Questions episode. I love doing this kind of thing because I don't know what you want to hear, but it's always great to hear, like, what does somebody think about it and what do they want answered? Because prison for so many people is just something that they've seen on TV or on a movie or something like that. And there's an element of truth to some of that stuff, but for the most part, it's pretty hokey. So if you want to know what's really happening, or just at least my experience and how I got through it, that's what this is about. So hit that subscribe button, like the episode, share it with somebody who needs a little bit of love in their life, and I will see you on the next one. Be blessed and be a blessing wherever you're at.